Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? There we go. I was told you really have to talk directly into this, so I'm going to pretend I'm Mick Jagger and kind of kiss this mic. Everyone, I want to just start real quickly. I understand we have some people from out of state. I'm curious, how many people here, this represents the first time to the state of, or to the city of Bend? How many? Cool. And how many of you first trip to Oregon? Wow. Welcome to Oregon and welcome to Bend. That's fantastic. I want to get into this presentation. Hopefully we can have a little time at the end so we can have a discussion about the findings. What struck you as something that really was something that is a takeaway for you? But I wanted to begin with just a personal reflection. I have spent over 4 decades, I can't quite bring myself to say 5 decades yet. I think this issue, and I don't say this to all my clients and in all my presentations, is something that really hit home for me. It's both the heart and the mind, this issue for me, because I've studied what livability and quality of life mean to people across this nation. And I'll tell you, a real building block of that is the sense of community, the sense of neighborliness that's important to people. And local journalism, journalism in people's backyards, is such an important part of that. And I would say that we're hurting. Communities across this country, communities in rural Oregon are hurting because they don't have the capacity to do good local journalism. So I'm going to tell you a little story. It's going to be less researchy. You want a research report? I have a research report for you. It's 45 pages long, I think, Heidi, right? But we have an executive summary right here for all of you. So grab this when you leave, because I understand some of you won't be at the conference tomorrow. Heidi, this is going to be on the website at some point, the full report. Perfect. So we'll give this, we'll set this someplace where people can grab it.
Pre-release.
What's that?
Pre-release.
Okay. Let's get started. I don't have a flipper, so we're just going to get right into this and just start with why in the world did we do this study? And there are a lot of anecdotes, there are a lot of assumptions out there about local journalism in rural Oregon. We wanted to go to the people who were in the trenches to find out what they were experiencing. We really wanted to know what that landscape is and to identify particular issues, particular challenges that these local publishers are having, and consequently opportunities for support. And an important part of a study like this is that it serves as a baseline, right? We're doing basically a needs assessment. We're finding out from these dedicated people how they're doing, the challenges they're facing, the kinds of assistance they need. And we'd like to think that we could go back in 2 or 3 years and do it again and find out how things are going now and what could be done to tweak a good system of support for them. Now, next slide here is the other reason we're doing this work. And Heidi mentioned it, and I just mentioned it. But we're doing this work because independent local journalism matters. It matters because it helps people stay informed about what's going on in their communities, their local government, their schools, public safety and public health. It helps them to better understand issues in their community that are affecting their daily life. It's also a very important tool for businesses to have in their tool chest to be successful, right? It's a means of communication for these businesses. And not only businesses, but other institutions and organizations in the community. I'm director, for example, of the Values and Beliefs Research Group at the School of Public Health at OHSU and PSU. Public health. We depend on good local journalism to get information out to people. When we don't have that information, we don't have a valuable tool to do an important public service. But the last two bullets are the bullets I've already touched on, and I promised Mark Garber that I'm going to triangulate this presentation and really hit hard this point. But local journalism touches on one of the 5 things Oregonians value most about living in this state. And I'm going to take a moment out and play survey researcher and ask this group to just shout out what you think are the 5 things that Oregonians value most about living in Oregon. And let's see how you do. Okay, what's one?
Outdoors.
The outdoors, perfect. Okay, take that off the board. Outdoors, okay. What's second about outdoors?
Clean water.
Clean water, beautiful. The environmental quality. What else?
Strong sense of community.
Sense of community, sense of community. That's right. Okay, we're getting real close. What else do we need here? Any other ideas? These are the 5 most important things. You could imagine what the list looked like. We had like 70 different things that we coded. And we do this regularly, so we watch it. And these things hold up all the time. Climate is another one. Believe it or not, the moderate climate we have here in Oregon is very important to people. And the natural beauty, a little different than the environmental quality. And I want to mention on outdoor recreation, it's both the proximity of that recreation and the variety of that recreation we have in this state. But the sense of community and the connectedness is in the top 5 things, and local journalism is directly responsible for it.
Local journalism.
Local journalism in rural communities, very important to having that sense of community and that connectedness that people want to continue living in Oregon. This mic is driving me crazy. This is being broadcast out there, so I have to bear with me, everyone, on this. Okay, so let's get going and find out exactly what we did. We identified 43 publishers. This in hiding rural communities. These were rural communities in Oregon. There may be more out there, but we needed to get contact information. We needed to get the study underway. We came up with 43 people, 43 organizations. 25 of them completed a survey. So we did quantitative research, the survey. We did some in-depth interviews, 5 of them, and I want to really thank those people and hang tight because I'm going to name names shortly. And then we did a digital readiness assessment. Is Stephen in the audience? What's that? He had to leave. But Stephen was just a great person to work with, and he did an assessment, a digital readiness assessment, which we'll give you the results of when we're done, before we're done. Here are the people, and I want to, all of you, give them a round of applause. They were fantastic. We really want to thank them for their time. And please stand up if you're here. Shout from the outside if you're outside. But Brandon, I would imagine Brandon's here. I see Brandon. There he is. Brandon, thank you. Brandon has his own slide coming up too. Chelsea Marr, is Chelsea here? She could not make it. Kathleen could not make it. She is from Roe River, the Roe River Review. It's a little community in the southeast corner of Lane County.
Row River.
Oh, that's right, it's Row River. Perfect, thank you. And George Cusser, George here? Could not make it? Okay, and what about Scott? Okay, Scott will be here tomorrow. So Brandon, you're holding the flag, all right. Okay, so we did that, and here's the bottom line. I mean, I'd like to share this right out of the gates. The challenge isn't there's no local news to cover. There's local news to cover. 2, the challenge isn't community trust and interest. Thanks to Andrew's work at Agora, the Journalism Center at the University of Oregon, and John Schrag's work, along with Lee and Emily at what is now Uplift Local, the great research that those two organizations have done over the years have clearly established that the public, that Oregonians have great trust in local news, and they have a great deal of interest in local news as well. In fact, I learned tonight that John is retiring as of Friday. No, John, it's out. It's out. Okay, so John, thank you for that research. It was great. And Andrew, I saw Andrew earlier. There he is. God, you guys are bookended. Perfect. This is something I really want to stress. The challenge isn't publisher commitment. These journalists are so committed. They were inspiring. The time I spent with them face to face was just real special. But here's the challenge. The challenge is capacity and sustainability. Now, we find out that capacity challenges vary by community. Each community that we examine, we're facing different combinations of these things. Geographic isolation, limited or inconsistent broadband access, lower household incomes, strong traditions of print news consumption. Changing audience habits and digital adoption. Advertising dollars shifting to Facebook, Google, and Instagram. Small population and limited business bases. And dispersed populations and rural service areas. And some of it's different combinations is what we saw in the responses to the open-ended questions and in the interviews. Different response, different combinations. For example, when you look at changing audience habits in digital adoption, because of the demographics and the lifestyle or the psychographics of the people in that community, some of them are making that shift quicker, okay? Older populations, lower income populations, they're making it, but it's very slow. But if you have a problem with broadband access, boom, you've got that issue as well. So just keep in mind that it's always different. Each community is different. There's no cookie cutter approach to this, except that capacity is the common theme. want to share with you some things that I heard about. Move from the general to the specific. So what I heard when it comes to challenges that publishers are having in these rural communities, building subscription programs with people who have a very limited disposable income, expanding digital audiences where broadband access remains uneven. Okay, you may have broadband access, but it may not be across your entire service area. Replacing advertising revenue that has shifted to social media platforms. Huge. Balancing strong print traditions with changing audience expectations. And also covering large geographic areas with limited staffing. This slide really kind of summarizes it, doesn't take it in. The question was, how many full-time employees do you have, counting yourself? Okay? And take a look at that. We're talking about the average size organization out there with all those benefits that a community derives from their work. 1-2 person shops. And then we have the one-person shops, right, Brandon? And then we have people that, get some help from students and from volunteers and from others in the community. Every story is a little different, but we're talking about small operations that are critical to, again, the livability and the quality of life in these communities. Here's what they're doing. You know this. I don't want this to be painful, but you've had enough to drink now that I think you can take this in. Let's go through it and, clench your teeth. Reporting and content creation, editing and production, photography and multimedia, website and digital publishing, social media management, audience analytics and insights, community engagement, advertising and sponsorship sales, membership and subscription growth. And you're running a business, there's business administration too. That's what these little organizations are doing. And many of the people I come across who have no idea about what's going on with regards to rural journalism and these organizations have no idea that all this is involved in what it is that all of you do. Okay, I told you, Brandon. You probably don't remember this one. I feel underwater every single day. And I went, oh my God, I thought my days were bad. And here is something very important, and that is the primary sources among participating publishers. Now, see if you see the story here, which is interesting in light of what's going on with respect to the capacity challenges, that list I shared with you. Look at where 44% of that revenue is coming from is print advertising. Okay? That's tough, you guys, because of the changing world and what's going on with social media and digital. Subscriptions and memberships, philanthropy, digital advertising, sponsored content, events, government programs, and there were other sources as well that were mentioned. But the one that jumped out at me was the print advertising versus the digital advertising. And I heard from a lot of the publishers, and I saw it in the responses to the open-ended questions as well, they recognize it. and they're trying to do something about it, but it's the capacity issue that's killing them again. Okay? George and Chelsea, thankfully they're both not here. We are bursting at the seams with local news. Versus, we started out poor and we've been poor ever since. And George was just amazing. But this is really a story of different communities, different circumstances, but the same need is what? Capacity, right? Okay, this is not copyrighted, guys. I want all of you to know. Doesn't he look like Jeff Bridges to some extent? Most publishers have the tools. This is really important to appreciate. This is what we learned from Stephen's work. You've got the tools. You've got the software. You've got the hardware, but you lack the capacity to fully use them because of everything else you're doing. That if you were able to do that, it would help you with everything else you're doing. It's just a circle, right? I took the circle slide out of this deck, by the way. So this is Stephen's conclusion. And it's amazing what he and his group, including students, was it at OSU Cascades, right? Yeah, graduate students. They're able to go to all these different websites and determine a number of things about what's going on with that particular organization. So as a digital assessment, there's strong digital foundation for sure. Most publishers have the core digital tools, but again, the opportunity is not being capitalized on because you've got to turn that digital engagement into sustainable revenue, which is what? You've got to start looking at digital advertising as being a vehicle to bring in some revenue and help with sustainability. This is something that I just wanted to stress real hard. Publishers often ask for help before they ask for money. And these are the kinds of things that they wanted to have. Access to expertise, hands-on technical assistance, professional networks, growth and revenue strategies, proven solutions. You know, you think you have an answer, but it's got to be experience. It's got to be fine-tuned. It's got to be, in our industry, pre-tested, right? So they want proven. They only have so much time. If you're going to take on something new, you'd like to think it'll work, right? And someone along the line, another organization like them, could have been really helpful in fine-tuning these to be proven solutions. That comes out of the professional networks and the collaborative opportunities. That's what they're asking for before they ask for money. So my takeaways for all of you tonight. Number one, Oregon independent rural publishers do not lack ideas. They were all positive. And some of them were really up against the ropes. Because we had questions, you'll see it in the survey, asking, okay, how long can you go, baby? How many more months, how many more years do you think you can hang in there? And it wasn't very encouraging at all. They do not lack the commitment. The commitment was heartening. What they need is the capacity to do more of the work they already believe in, and this is very important. And that Oregonians and rural communities across the state need and want. And it's not only those communities, but I would argue it's the state of Oregon and all the different institutions, all the different organizations that are working to improve the livability and quality of life we have in Oregon, including sharing with people very important information that would help their community, help their households, help them as individuals. That's what local journalism is all about. I want to just conclude by saying, as an outsider in a way, I want to thank all of you for the incredible work you do. I can't tell you how many different organizations I've worked with in my career that really, their mission depends on having this communications that you offer at the local level. So anything I can personally do, my company can do to help out Heidi, we're here for you guys. But you're real troopers, I really appreciate it, and I can tell you Oregonians do too. They really do. So that's all I have tonight. I wanted to just, I think I gotta give Brandon a chance. Brandon, is there anything I'm missing here that you want to emphasize?
I think you nailed it. Yeah, come to my talk tomorrow. We'll be talking about startup newsroom stuff, and a lot of what we talked about here will be translated into how it can be brought to your community.
I saw the agenda for tomorrow. Very, very impressive, and so many people have been engaged in doing this work. Anyone else want to say, or was there something that really struck home for you in what was in these research findings I shared with you? Anybody? Yes?
It's very affirming that we're not in this alone.
Yeah.
A lot of same problems.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I think that your theme about capacity really rings true because a lot of the emails that I get in my inbox are like what tools I can use. Like there's this tool and there's this tool and go to this webinar and learn about this. And I'm like, I can, but I can't implement it.
Yeah.
Because if I implement it, then I'm not going to write stories. And then,
Bingo.
Yeah.
Right? You got so many things that you're juggling, all of you. And I know that a lot of us in tough economic times are juggling a lot of things. But man, I looked at that list and I went, whoa, something else.
So I'm just going to say I was really struck by your point about the work that people already believe in so deeply. We know the need, we can feel it when we do it, and we know it when our readers say something to us. So we stay in this, and what we're doing is really a revolution. I mean, it is really a remaking, and it's an amazing place to get to be. And it's also terrifying as hell. But thank you for the sort of affirmation again. It's very helpful.
I think it was back, like, again, with Bob Chandler. He came in, he had an idea to start a business and with the bulletin here and there. He was an entrepreneurial journalist. That's not the environment today. And that's where I think rural journalism, small town journalism is going to rebuild. It will rebuild from from the
Literally.
it's right. It's innovative, it's entrepreneurial, and it's small town, and it's community rooted. And the decision maker lives in the community. That's how it started in this country, and I think that's how it's going to be revitalized. That's my
Yeah. Very good. John?
As Anne said, we did some research a couple years ago on Oregonians' attitudes toward local news. He's exactly right. What publishers are saying they want to deliver matches with what people want, so there's not a disconnect. There's not a disconnect. That's a very powerful thing to know. And secondly, and I think Andrew's work with Agora also emphasizes this as well. There is actually a consensus about what people want. And the good news is it's exactly what local publishers want to give. And the second thing, he's also right, Oregonians do not like the media, but they like local media. Yes. So that's important to know. They really, and we're doing some work in the Columbia River Gorge, the amount of appreciation for what Chelsea is doing in the Columbia River Gorge is really heartening. So I'm guessing that people in your community have that same sentiment. They want you to succeed. So we have some research, it gives us some directions, let's move forward.
It is very heartening, and all I can say, the force is definitely with all of you, and I'm glad you pick up enough, because I know you're so busy, but to hear from people in the community about how much they value about your work, I think that explains that sense of commitment I saw on the part of a lot of local journalists. Anything